Hi everyone, this is a quick video about ambiguity and specifically with Paul Tremblay's novel The Cabin at the End of the World. I'll talk a little bit about the movie as well. I want to focus on the book, but might bring in some aspects of the movie. So spoilers are coming if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, or if you've read the book but not seen the movie yet, or vice versa, then you can feel free to stop in, but please come back and watch this after you've done that. So I'll summarize the book and try to sum it up. This will be somewhat of an improvised video, so if I ramble, apologies in advance. So the story is of a couple, parents of a child, and the parents are Andrew and Eric, a couple. They travel to a remote cabin with their adopted child. And what happens is that 4 strangers show up. And these strangers tell them that they have to willingly sacrifice a member of their family or the world will end. So this, after I read the book and saw the movie, did hear the theory this is maybe an analogy for global warming, climate change, that the end of the world is now made very real for this small family. Instead of it being an abstraction that something should change or the world will end, this is Tremblay's attempt to make it real for people to read about a real family that has to make the ultimate sacrifice to save the world. So on the surface, when the 4 folks show up, you will, at least I did, assume that this is just some crazy small cult that's using this family for some weird event that they want to go through with. But it's the ambiguity that happens along the way that makes it all interesting. So the rules that are set up is that the 4 folks who show up, the so-called horsemen of the apocalypse, there will be 4 signs that the world's going to end, and there will be time for this family of 3 to sacrifice willingly one of the members. If they don't, then one at a time, the 4 horsemen will end their own lives. And so, and it's like a clicking clock. Sorry about that. It's a ticking clock. So as they don't act, there will be a progress towards the end of the world. So they have to take an action. When the last of the 4 takes their life, that's it. Then the world will end, and there's no going back after that. There's also the issue that the 4 horsemen can't do anything to the family. They're not supposed to take an action themselves. The family has to willingly sacrifice and not call on anyone else to do it. So what happens in the book is that they go in, they injure one of the parents when they go in, and so this character has a concussion through the rest of the book. And so that presents one of the characters as a narrator that maybe is unreliable, because you're not sure if it's a cause of some of their visions or some of their thoughts. Is it a cause of just who they are, or is it the concussion that they have? The other partner isn't injured, but you still question their behavior. They get increasingly hysterical as things go on because of just the circumstances make things somewhat crazy, and probably most people would act a little wild by the end of this just because of the circumstances. So one by one, the family doesn't take up the horsemen on the offer. So one by one, the 4 horsemen are sacrificed. Near the end, what happens is that the daughter is unfortunately accidentally killed while the four horsemen some of them are fighting with one of the parents over a gun, and then the child is killed. And so that wasn't a willing sacrifice, so it doesn't count towards the stopping the end of the world. And it's also a mistake on the part of the four horsemen. They're not supposed to lead to any deaths of the family. The family has to willingly sacrifice. And so everything is messed up, even more than it was before at that point. And finally, the last of the four horsemen takes their life. And so the two men, the partners, are left at the end going off into the world, and we're not sure what fate they're going to run into. The different signs seem to be happening, but we can't tie them directly to prophecies that the four horsemen have. So that there's different layers of ambiguity that make this story great. So first, I already mentioned, is the one person having a concussion and becomes an unreliable narrator. They see a figure at one point, a shining figure that might be there, a supernatural event coming in the middle of this horrific ordeal that might be affecting everything. And so the partner is now not sure, was that vision real? Was it not real? The catastrophic events that happen as part of the prophecy, there's also ambiguity there too. The folks get reports about all these disasters that are happening, but there's ambiguity because, as we know, that you could turn on the news, and usually when you turn on the news, there is some sort of disaster that's being focused on. So there's ambiguity there about whether these events actually map to the prophecies. There's the ambiguity at the end, of course, where the two men go off into the world, and we don't know what happens after that point. And hopefully there's not ever a sequel to this story. The ambiguity is brilliant in that it leaves things open so that we can just make the rest of the story in our mind or think about what it could be. Folks, and I did forget to mention one other ambiguity. That ambiguity is the one partner seeing one of the four horsemen as someone who attacked them years earlier and is sure that it's that person, but the person who has the concussion isn't convinced that this person is the person that attacked them. And so again, another point of ambiguity is this: if this is truly four people who are coming to get them that are really just sort of a cultish end of the world group, then they're following someone who's already attacked one member of the family. And so is it that's happening, or is it not that person that attacked them? The person who has the concussion isn't convinced that they see that person as the person that attacked the other partner years earlier. And so that ambiguity hangs over the story as well and leads to the characters and the readers, not being really sure what's happening after everything is said and done. And then there's also the ambiguity of what force is causing all this to happen. I think Paul Tremblay's criticized the movie. The movie went, especially near the end, way off of the story and had a more wrapped up ending where it did say the prophecy was true. But as the author pointed out, that means that whatever force is in charge of the universe and the world seems to be a fairly malicious force that's making people do horrible things, or they'll destroy the world for no reason that is really understood at that point. So the book has that advantage of ambiguity where the readers also aren't sure how this goes, if it's real, and then how it ends after the characters march off after everything's said and done at the end. The story follows there are a series of great ambiguous stories, specifically in the horror realm. There's something about ambiguity and horror that really goes well together. Things that you can't quite see, things that might be there but you're not sure. These two formats go well together. They come together great in this story and lead to the worry that the reader has at the end, that what was this all about? Was this really a cult that's focused on? So it's a great book to read, a great concept. And if you're a fan of horror and ambiguity in horror, I definitely recommend Cabin at the End of the World. Read it, and I think you will enjoy the unsettling ambiguity of it all. So that's it for today. I'd like to do a few more videos on ambiguity in fiction, specifically horror. So look for those coming up. Thanks everyone, and take care.